Hey there, in this video I'm going to show you how to make post requests using Ajax to a Python backend. Okay, let's get started. So here's just a regular HTML page, and maybe you might want to put a button. So let's say input button, and let's just give it a value of button. Okay, so now that we have our button, the next thing we want to do, well, let's just have our JavaScript. So Ajax is a way of basically doing stuff seamlessly on a web page without reloading. So let's make our script. Here we go, our script, and our JavaScript goes in here, and then we're gonna make a function, and let's just call it func. And then we're just gonna use our tags. And here, our function goes inside here. Okay, let's bring this up a bit. Let's put it over here. And the very first thing we want to do is we're going to want to put a couple statements. So the first statement, this is the first statement. You want to make your XML request. And I'm just calling it XML for short. Okay, so now that we have our, we have a XML request done, the next thing we want to do is to make a post request. So I'm just gonna copy and paste this here, XML.open, and inside this bracket, you put where your pages, where your HTML pages. It could be HTTP something, it could be HTTP, it could be anything. But if you're using Flask, which I assume you're using, you're gonna want to use URL4. So inside here, you may want to have your curly brackets and then URL underscore 4 and then brackets here. And then you put the, if you're not using blueprints, then you would use something like the address of your site, which could be just, I'm going to be calling it func, or more specifically, if you're using blueprints, then you may have to put func.func. So either or, depending on what, if you're using blueprints. I'm using blueprints, that's why I have to use this .func here. And this true statement, it means to be asynchronous. So you're gonna want to always have that as true. Now, if you're using post requests, you're gonna have to always use a header. So I'm just gonna copy and paste this here. So XML set header request, and everything, just copy everything exactly the way I have it, because this is because you are encoding through the URL. So copy it exactly the way I have it here. Now, one of the most important parts is to make our onload function. There's different ways of doing this, but to date, this is the way I've been told to do it. So you want to make an XML.onload function. Let me just end that bracket. And I like to end all my functions with end functions. And inside here, this is where you would send your information. Sorry, my mistake. This is where you wanna get your information for like after you send your request. So let me just go here and paste this, unload, and I just made a variable here called dataReply. And here, this is the important part. This response, this is basically what you get back from the Python backend or whatever backend you're using. It's this response, and then you're gonna have to JSON parse it. Depending if you're setting back a dictionary, or if you're setting back a dictionary, you're gonna want to JSON parse it, because in the backend we're gonna JSON stringify it. So we're gonna have to JSON parse it. So that's what you have to do, and this is what you're gonna get back. And obviously, down over here, you can do anything with that information. You can say alert data reply. You can do anything with that information that you get back from the backend. But before you can get back any information, you have to send the information first. So right here underneath, you can put this anywhere you want, but you need to send this XML. So I'm over here. I'm gonna go paste, and you're sending. Basically, this is a variable. So you may want to make a variable called dataSend or whatever variable you want to make, and it's going to be a dictionary. So perhaps some data, and over here data, and so on and so forth. You can just keep on doing that. I'm going to put this over here. More data, and then over here more data, and then you just keep on doing that, and eventually you send that information. Once this information is sent, it comes right back to here, and this is where you can use that information. However, if you are sending information, it's probably a good idea to JSON stringify that information. So over here, I'm going to type in JSON.stringify, put a bracket here, and put a bracket here. Now, so I do this such that when everything's going to be stringified, everything's going to be a string, and it's be sent to your Python backend, and then basically you're going to have to manipulate that data or just unstringify it to use it. Okay, so that's the whole part. So you're sending, this is your data that you accumulate in your HTML page, and you're sending it here through this variable to the Python backend, and the Python's going to respond back to you, and it's going to spawn back over here in this text. This is where the Python responds back to you, and you can use that information anywhere in this function to do whatever you need it to do. Okay, let's move on to the Python part. Okay, so I made a Python file here. This is an empty Python file, and I'm just going to copy and paste this. So the first thing you need, your imports. I have OS here because I'm going to be doing some stuff with the OS to make path directories. Obviously, you're going to need Flask. Well, if you're using blueprints, then here's blueprints, and then you're going to need JSonify. And if you're using blueprints, then you're probably going to need to do this. Like this is the name of my folder of my init, where my folder is, where my init file is, and this is app. So if you're familiar with Flask, then or familiar with blueprints, then you're gonna need this line if you use blueprints. Okay, so here I'm gonna paste in a path directory. I like to name all my paths path, and then this CWD stands for current working directory, and here this line here gives me the path of where this file is, where this Python file is. And over here, os path directory gives me the folder of where this file is. And using this, I can get my path to my templates and path to my static folder. So over here, I'm just gonna paste it in. Here's the path to my templates, and then here's my path to my templates, and here's my path to my static folder. Again, if you're using Flask, you're gonna need a templates folder and a static folder, a templates folder and a static folder, and that's required. So the naming should be exact. Here, I'm just gonna paste in my blueprints over here. I like to name my name all my blueprints with a capital F, with a capital at front here, and then over here you can name it anything you want, but I typically give it a lowercase. So it's the same name except this one has a capital here, and this one has a lowercase. And over here your path static goes there, and here your template path goes here underneath here. Now notice that this name here, func with a capital F, is the same as what you have here, func with a capital F. And here is the directory where it's like where where the address of where this page will be, and the address will be at func. The home so this is the home directory and /func. Then finally down here you want to have your function. And underneath here, you want to go return. Hold on. Return JSonify, and inside here you're gonna put whatever your well, the data reply or whatever you're gonna be putting in here. So let's get our data first. So over here inside our function, we are going, well, it's called dataGet, and what you need is this one here: request get JSON and then force true. When you have this force true here, back over here, it doesn't matter what you put in here. It basically, if you make a mistake here, or if you make a mistake, or you type something wrong, or you don't even have anything at all, it will get it. It will get that JSON response regardless. So that's what this force true does. I suggest you don't have to use it, but I suggest you do use it. And unfortunately, this is the only way to get um, the data from a post request. And it's a little inconvenient because typically you put a name in the data send, but apparently if you're sending a post request, you can't do that. So this is the only statement you have. I looked around, and apparently this is the only way to get it. So you can only use one. So you got to make multiple pages for different XML requests. So inside here, JSonify, so you can do anything you want with this data. Obviously, the data is going to come back to you as a dictionary. So we can say print data get, or you can do whatever you have that data. But eventually, we want to do something with that data and send it back. So you can say data reply. Let's use a capital R, or data reply. And you can say, and you're gonna probably want to send back another JSON file. So you can say something like this, and when you're sending JSON file, you can send a lot of information. So I seriously suggest you send back dictionaries. Basically, you're turning dictionaries into a JSON file. Okay, so then over here, you can send that information, data reply. And what happens here is that this data will be, when it goes here, the data will be sent directly back into your XML page right here in this response. Because you JSONified it here, because that's the way you send it, because this is a dictionary, and because it's a dictionary, you're gonna want to JSONify it, right? And then because it's JSONified, you're gonna want to over here JSON parse that information. And over here with the data reply, you can do whatever you want with that data. You can post it, or you can basically that's how you send these post requests. Okay, that's about it.